Hello, it's your favorite sports thunk here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the fastest growing community on YouTube. So please subscribe or you're going to make Ocho cry.
He just paid out millions to make one lawsuit vanish. And now, before the ink is even dry, Shannon Sharpe is staring down another $20 million legal bombshell. From a $50 million scandal that ended his ESPN run to a viral Usher moment that sparked a brand new defamation war. This isn't just bad luck, it's a career in freefall. The $50 million Gabriella Zuniga lawsuit and the beginning of the spiral. The year was already rough for Shannon Sharpe. Then Gabriella Zuniga walked in with a lawsuit that made sports headlines worldwide. She wasn't a household name, just 19 years old, a rising model and content creator. But her allegations packed enough firepower to shake a Hall of Fame career. The $50 million lawsuit claimed Sharpe had engaged in unwanted physical contact, recorded intimate moments without her consent, and subjected her to emotional abuse. These were not vague claims. Her court filings detailed text exchanges, alleged payouts, and promises that painted Sharpe in a predatory light. The most viral detail? Messages allegedly demanding $25,000 per cheek. The kind of salacious snippet that social media eats alive. Sharpe, of course, denied all wrongdoing. His camp called it a shakedown, pure extortion. But the court of public opinion didn't wait for the legal verdict. Screenshots, gossip, and memes started circulating before Sharpe's lawyers could even issue a statement. The case dragged on for months, with every small development becoming a headline. Then, in mid-July 2025, after what sources described as protracted negotiations, the lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice, meaning Zuniga can't file it again. No admission of guilt, no trial, but silence came with a price. Insiders whispered about an 8-figure payout, with estimates ranging from $10 million to well over $20 million. For Sharpe, that was more than a financial hit. It was a public scar that would follow him long after the ink dried, and while most people would have been in damage control mode trying to lay low, Sharpe was about to face a new kind of fallout, one that would threaten his broadcasting career. And that door slammed shut faster than anyone expected. Settlement fallout and ESPN exit. The career earthquake. The Gabriella Zuniga case wasn't even cold when the next blow landed. One morning, sports fans tuned in expecting to see Shannon Sharpe in his usual chair, ready to spar over NFL hot takes and NBA drama. Instead, silence. No Shannon, no explanation, just an empty seat that would soon be filled by someone else. Officially, ESPN called it a mutual parting of ways, the kind of polished corporate language networks use when they want to keep things clean. But behind the scenes, insiders were whispering a very different story. ESPN had a brand to protect and a lineup of big-name sponsors who don't like scandal. While Sharpe was still a ratings draw, the optics were ugly. A $50 million lawsuit fresh off settlement, salacious headlines splashed across social media, and a reputation suddenly linked with tabloid-style drama rather than sports excellence. Multiple sources claimed that advertiser pressure played a huge role. Sharpe wasn't just a commentator, he was one of the network's faces, and if that face was now connected to stories of million-dollar payouts and leaked texts advertisers could pull out, ESPN couldn't risk that. For Sharpe, losing ESPN was more than losing a paycheck. It meant losing one of the biggest platforms in sports media. It meant losing the ability to control his own narrative in front of millions of viewers. And it meant stepping off the biggest stage in a career that had already transitioned from NFL legend to media powerhouse. Some fans rallied to his side, arguing that ESPN caved to cancel culture and corporate overreach. Others said the network made the right call, pointing out that sports broadcasters have been dropped for far less. Sharpe himself stayed mostly quiet about the departure, a strategic move perhaps to avoid giving the story more oxygen. But silence didn't stop the speculation. Was ESPN protecting its image, or was it simply the first domino to fall in a much bigger collapse? Whatever the reason, the timing was brutal. One high-profile scandal had cost him millions. Now, losing ESPN meant giving up even more future earnings, potentially tens of millions over the next few years. And just when it seemed things couldn't possibly get worse, a completely unrelated incident, a lighthearted concert moment caught on camera, would explode into another multi-million-dollar lawsuit. A lawsuit that might be even harder to escape than the first. New defamation bombshell. $20 million suit by Jimalita Tillman. It happened in April 2025, far from any football field or TV studio. Chicago arts executive Jimalita Tillman was at an Usher concert, ready for a night of music and fun. No drama, no controversy, but just entertainment. Partway through the show, Usher pulled her on stage for one of his signature fan moments. If you've seen these before, you know the drill. A little dancing, playful eye contact, the crowd going wild. Harmless. For Tillman, it was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. For the internet, it was content. Within hours, the clip was all over TikTok, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter. People joked about how Auntie was having her best night ever, while others made lighthearted memes about Usher stealing people's wives. But on the Nightcap podcast, Shannon Sharpe and co-host Chad Ochocinco Johnson took it a step further. According to Tillman's lawsuit, Sharpe told millions of listeners that she was married, that her husband was furious, and that he was allegedly filing for divorce because of her on-stage interaction with Usher. In Sharpe's telling, it was a juicy little drama. Perfect for podcast laughs. In reality, none of it was true. Tillman says she wasn't married, had no husband, and there were no divorce papers. But by the time she could respond, the damage was already done. The married woman caught flirting with Usher narrative had been clipped, shared, and memed into internet permanence. And unlike celebrities who are constantly in the public eye, Tillman says she's a private figure, not equipped with a PR team or millions of followers to correct the record. She claims the false story caused reputational damage in her personal and professional circles, embarrassment and humiliation from being misrepresented online, strained work relationships, as she's a cultural leader in Chicago's art scene. What made it worse, she says, is that she personally contacted Sharpe's team multiple times asking for a retraction or at least for the clips to be taken down. Her requests ignored. The content stayed up, the jokes kept circulating. That's when she decided to sue, and not for a symbolic dollar, she's demanding $20 million in damages, a number big enough to get Sharpe's full attention. Some fans called it ridiculous, saying it was just a joke and people are too sensitive. Others pointed out that when you have millions of followers, joking about a private person's marriage, especially when it's not true, can cross into dangerous legal territory. And the more you dig into defamation law, the more you start to see why this case isn't as far-fetched as some think. Because when you break it down element by element, Tillman's lawsuit starts checking every box. The defamation case. Element by element defamation might sound like a vague, hurt feelings complaint, but in court it's built on 5 specific elements. If the plaintiff proves all 5, they win. If they miss even one, they lose. So, how does Jimalita Tillman's $20 million claim stack up? Let's walk through it. 1. Identity. The statement must be of and concerning the plaintiff, meaning people can clearly tell it's about them. For Tillman, that's open and shut. The viral clip literally shows her face on stage with Usher. When Sharpe and Ochocinco discussed the married woman flirting with Usher, there was zero ambiguity about who they meant. Check that box, checkmark 2. Publication. This isn't about newspapers anymore. It just means the statement was communicated to at least one other person. In today's world, a single viral post can hit millions. In Tillman's case, Nightcap wasn't just a podcast. It was clipped, shared, and posted across YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. We're talking millions of views. The fact that it went viral actually strengthens her case here. Check that box, checkmark 3. Negligence or reckless disregard for the truth. This is where Sharpe could be in real trouble. If Tillman was a public figure, she'd have to prove actual malice, that Sharpe knew it was false or intentionally ignored the truth. But as a private figure, the bar is much lower. She just has to show negligence, that he didn't bother to verify. Tillman says she reached out to Sharpe's team multiple times, asking for corrections and takedowns. If she can prove those attempts happened, it shows Sharpe had a chance to fix the record, and didn't. That's negligence on a silver platter. Check that box, checkmark 4. Falsity. The claim has to be factually false. She says she wasn't married, no husband, no divorce papers, no public records to back up Sharpe's story. Unless Sharpe's legal team can whip out a surprise marriage certificate, this one's a slam dunk for Tillman. Check that box, checkmark 5. Harm. This is often the hardest to prove. You need to show reputational or material damage, but Tillman's no stranger to public roles in the arts community. As a cultural executive, she's got professional relationships and a reputation to protect. She claims the viral rumor made colleagues question her character and even led to awkward conversations in her work environment. Add in the embarrassment of being portrayed as a cheating wife when you're not even married, and a jury could easily see that as harm. Check that box, the bottom line. On paper, her case is strong. The private figure status makes it easier, the viral reach makes it bigger, and the ignored requests for correction make it riskier. And this isn't some random internet troll she's up against. It's Shannon Sharpe, a man with massive influence and a history of expensive legal settlements. If you think Sharpe's lawyers are going to brush this off as just jokes, think again. The stakes here aren't just financial, they're about public accountability in the influencer era. And when you factor in the power dynamics, the legal scale tips even further in Tillman's favor. Legal context and platform power. In a defamation case, the courtroom isn't the only battlefield. The power dynamic between the parties matters just as much. On one side, you have Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Fame NFL tight end, former co-host of ESPN's First Take and FS1's undisputed host of Club Shay Shay, and co-host of Nightcap, millions of followers across YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. A proven ability to make any clip, quote, or soundbite go viral overnight. When Sharpe speaks, it doesn't just reach an audience, it floods the internet. His fans repeat it, meme it, and spread it until it's hard to tell where the original joke ended and the fact began. On the other side is Jimalita Tillman, arts executive in Chicago's cultural scene, known in her community, but not a national public figure. No built-in audience to push back against a viral falsehood, no PR team to spin the story or flood Google search results with her side. That gap in reach is massive, and the law knows it. Why private figures get more protection. Defamation law draws a clear line. Public figures are fair game for criticism and satire. They have to prove actual malice, that the person knowingly lied or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Private figures get more leeway. They only need to prove negligence, that the person failed to take reasonable care to get the facts right. That's why Tillman's status as a private citizen makes this case especially dangerous for Sharpe. She doesn't have to prove he intentionally lied. She just has to prove he didn't bother to check. The social media multiplier effect. In 1995, if you defamed someone on a talk show, maybe a few 100,000 people heard it, and it faded in a week. In 2025, a single offhand joke on a podcast can be clipped, captioned, and shared across platforms, reaching millions in days and living forever online. When that joke is about a real private person, now with a name, face, and career to protect, but it's not harmless anymore. The reach turns the damage exponential. Ignored requests make it worse. In her lawsuit, Tillman says she contacted Sharpe's team repeatedly to correct the record. If she can show emails, DMS, or certified letters, it will demonstrate Sharpe knew she disputed the story and still left it up. That's not just negligence. A jury might see it as arrogance. And arrogance in front of a jury rarely ends well for the defendant. All of this adds up to a dangerous equation for Sharpe. Big platform plus private figure plus viral falsehood plus ignored retraction requests equals high-risk lawsuit. If this goes to trial, the very thing that made Sharpe a media success, his reach, could be the very thing that makes him lose in court. And with millions already gone from the Gabriella Zuniga settlement, he's got to decide quickly whether to fight or settle before this turns into another financial hemorrhage. What's next for Sharpe? For Shannon Sharpe, the past year reads like a cautionary tale in 3 acts. A $50 million lawsuit from Gabriella Zuniga, settled quietly but reportedly for an 8-figure sum. A sudden, high-profile exit from ESPN, cutting off a lucrative, career-defining platform. Now, a $20 million defamation lawsuit from Jimalita Tillman, a case that looks stronger with every detail that surfaces. Each chapter has chipped away at his finances, his brand, and his ability to control the narrative. And here's the harsh reality. He has no perfect option left. Option 1, fight it in court. Sharpe could dig in, refuse to settle, and take the Tillman case all the way to trial. But that comes with enormous risk. Legal fees could easily run into the high 6 or even 7 figures. The discovery process could force him to turn over private communications, internal podcast notes, and possibly even past settlement agreements, opening the door to more damaging headlines. A jury verdict could hit harder than a negotiated settlement, especially if they want to send a message about platform responsibility. Option 2, settle quietly. Again, this is what happened with Gabriella Zuniga. While Sharpe avoided an official admission of guilt, the payout still became public knowledge, and it fueled the narrative that he's willing to pay to make problems go away. Settling again might stop the bleeding now, but it risks creating a pattern that invites more lawsuits in the future. If people believe you'll pay to avoid a trial, more claims tend to appear. Option 3, publicly apologize and negotiate. Some legal experts suggest a public acknowledgement combined with a smaller settlement could work, essentially showing good faith while limiting financial damage. But Sharpe's personality and public brand are built on confidence and bravado. A public mea culpa might not come naturally, and fans could interpret it as weakness. The pattern problem. This isn't the first time Sharpe has faced allegations outside the football field. In 2023, Michelle Bundy Evans accused him of misconduct in a separate matter. While that case didn't stick in court, it added to a growing archive of controversies with his name attached. When you zoom out, the picture becomes clearer. Multiple allegations over the years, big settlements, career fallout, and now a lawsuit that blends the legal and the viral in a way that perfectly fits 2025's media landscape. If history is any guide, Sharpe's next move will be less about clearing his name and more about damage control. The real question is whether his brand, built over decades, can survive another financial and reputational hit. And with the court deadline for his legal response approaching fast, the clock is ticking. He can't afford to drag this one out forever. The next move he makes could decide whether Shannon Sharpe stays a media force or becomes a cautionary footnote. In less than 12 months, Shannon Sharpe's life has transformed from a picture of post-NFL success into a case study on how quickly a public brand can unravel. This was a man who, not long ago, was balancing two thriving media careers, one in the high-stakes world of sports broadcasting and another as the charismatic host of viral podcast interviews. Now, he's juggling multi-million-dollar legal threats, the loss of one of the most prestigious seats in sports media, and a growing public perception problem. The Gabriella Zuniga lawsuit took a massive financial bite out of his wealth and cemented his name in scandal headlines. The ESPN departure removed the most mainstream platform he had to control the conversation. And now the Jimalita Tillman defamation case could hit him with another crippling payout, all because of a viral joke that may not have been funny to the person on the receiving end. Some will see Sharpe as a victim of the modern era, where every word is recorded, clipped, and amplified, and where even a moment of careless humor can spiral into a legal battle. Others will say he's the architect of his own downfall, a man who underestimated the reach of his words and overestimated his immunity to consequences. But here's the reality. In today's media landscape, platform power comes with platform responsibility. If you have the reach to make someone famous overnight, you also have the reach to damage them just as quickly. And in a court of law, that reach can be just as dangerous as the statements themselves. Whether Sharpe chooses to fight, settle, or negotiate, one thing is certain: each choice comes with a cost: financial, reputational, personal, and with every lawsuit, that cost gets harder to pay. Not just in money, but in trust, credibility, and legacy. So the question is this the result of bad luck, bad judgment, or a little bit of both? And more importantly, after decades of building his name, will Shannon Sharpe be remembered for his Hall of Fame career or for the courtroom dramas that followed? Let me know in the comments, because this story isn't over and your take might just be the next headline.